Spectrum on Radio 1 FM 90.
Spectrum wants to hear your views. You can SMS at any time during the show. Type Spectrum, leave a space, type in your contribution and name, then send it to 7197. Your views, our interviews on Spectrum, Radio 1 FM 90.
Hello, a very warm welcome. This is Spectrum on Radio 1. I'm your host, Edmond. Kizito, good evening. On Spectrum tonight, we're reviewing the week. We'll be looking at the UPDF air disaster. Ugandans woke to the shocking news that 3 UPDF helicopters going to Somalia went missing, and later they were confirmed to have crashed near Mount Kenya, leaving only 7 servicemen dead. Today, 10 survivors were returned home. President Museveni has named a team to probe this disaster. General Saleh, his brother, is one of only 6 generals he's supposed to chair this team. Parliament says no, they need somebody else. They want experts. And today, General J.J. Odongo said that they are ready. Uganda is ready to supply another batch of helicopters to Somalia, the Somalia mission, should that be needed. The cabinet reshuffle. This week, President Museveni shuffled his cabinet. Almost 1 year late, he had 6 vacancies. Now, he's shuffled his cabinet, bringing a lot of new faces. Only 1 man lost his job. We'll look at that. Also, the fate of sports in Uganda. Kiprotich becomes Kiptorich, some people have said. The Ugandan medalist coming back home after 40 years, winning a gold medal in the Olympics, ending a 40-year drought. We'll talk about that. And our guests tonight, Honorable Hassan Kaps Fungaroho, Shadow Minister for Defense, also MP for Obongi County. You're most welcome, Honorable Hassan.
Thank you very much, moderator, the staff and the crew here on Radio 1. Thank you for your work. Listeners, thank you for tuning in.
We're also joined by Dr. Bainomugisha, head of the Peace and Conflict Program at ACODE Lecturer at Makerere University on the Peace and Conflict Management. You're most welcome, Dr. Bainomugisha.
Thank you, moderator, and good evening, listeners and viewers.
We're also joined viewers because we're also on the internet. You can access a video of YouTube, a video of Spectrum of YouTube. We're also joined by Mr. Morrison Rwakakamba, Program Manager at TWAWEZA East Africa. That's a think tank. You're most welcome, Morrison.
Good evening, dear listeners, and thank you, Edmond.
We're excited to join by Mr. Nyago, Deputy Principal Private Secretary to the President. Honorable Fungaroho, the reshuffle came late. What did you make of it?
Thank you very much. This reshuffle came at a time when the minds of Ugandans were on very crucial issues. So the time it was expected, it was not brought timely. So I just look at it as a diversionary issue, which President Museveni wants to use to divert the minds of the people from the issue of the disaster affecting the helicopters, because there are questions about it, and government is put to task. Everybody has questions which really put the government to task. So instead of talking about choppers, you talk about ministers and appointment, the all disappointment. So I think the timing has been calculated to divert attention. Number 2, it is very controversial in the sense that some ministers who deserve not appear on this list have resurfaced. People who have question marks on them, who have been asked to step down, step aside, to create room for investigations due to corruption, have come back on the list. People like Honorable Kutesa Sam, the Minister of Foreign Affairs, then Honorable Engineer Nasasira, the Minister of Works, and others. So these people, at least if President Museveni really wanted them to be on the cabinet, he would have reserved their post to be vacant, nobody put there, and they are not put there until they are cleared by the probe committee. But what he has done simply really shattered the hopes of the people of Uganda on the issue of the willingness of the regime, and therefore the willingness of the president towards the fight against corruption. This is not the first time that people who have been questioned by Parliament or removed from their positions by Parliament because of corruption are reappointed into the cabinet. And this clearly shows the mindset of this regime. Corruption is good as long as it does not threaten the power base of the regime. If these monies which were lost were just one AK-47, one, and they say Tegule or my brother doctor here is the one who, or my brother here is the one who stole it from a certain place, you will see the efforts put to recover that just one AK-47, one gun, one weapon, because an AK-47 can have an impact on the regime, because President 7 came to power using the barrel of the gun, not using the barrel of money. So if you steal money, it is all up to you. You can talk about it, no problem. And again, this money is stolen by these people who, at a certain point, will be used to support the regime, because during elections many people contribute money, and who knows, Honorable Nasasira, Honorable Kotesa Sam, these are the big guys who can contribute a lot of money. So if you steal money and use it for the benefit of the regime, it is okay. You can be appointed and reappointed as long as you are useful to the survival of the regime. This is the way I see it.
So you've given us what you think is the mind of the president, was the mind of the president as he appointed these men and women. But let's look at, once you put that out of the way, what kind of cabinet is it?
Relatively, the cabinet compared to the previous ones is getting younger. The public has complained about the aging cabinet members of this regime, and now the aging people have not been removed totally, but there has been some kind of decoration. The cabinet
some flowers.
Some flowers. The cabinet has been decorated with young people, so it looks attractive. It is fairly balanced in terms of age. That is the way I see it.
Let's look at some new faces. Aida Nantaba, I think that's the pronunciation, from Kayunga. This is a very young woman, I think 35 years old or something like that. Richard Todronk from the north. There is Anes Chiza, Sarah Kataike, Shembogene, Rosemary Najemba, and there is
Frank Tumwebaze.
Frank Tumwebaze. He's been there. He was one of the youngest MPs when he came to Parliament about 10 years ago. What kind of energy are they going to bring into this cabinet?
The way I look at this, Frank Tumwebaze is supposed to be a vibrant person. And given the current questions which vibrant people of the age bracket to which he belongs, asking questions about the restoration of term limits, questions about good governance, questions about this and that. You remember somebody we now call the former Banyanzaki. Banyanzaki Henry, we call him former because he was known to be vibrant and fighting against corruption. So what happened? When bread and butter was put in his mouth, he kept quiet and he has disappeared. Some people even think he's not in Uganda, but he's here. He sits with us. So what I see here is that also, President Seven has fired a silencer to the young people, to the youth, that keep quiet. Don't talk about these things. You mind your business, mind business of eating. So this is another angle where the young people have been brought in. There has been this question of the youth venture capital. We talked very seriously with some of these people, and now when you get some of them put on the cabinet, they will not be with us. Just like the way Banyanzaki left us in the cold when we were fighting against corruption. These people will also join the eating table. They will forget about the youth. Their usefulness, as the age will be lost. It will be useless to the youth actually, because they will be required to either keep quiet or defend the regime in power, no matter what the regime is doing, because they are still young. They must eat, they must do this.
Morrison, what's your reading of the cabinet?
Yeah, well, my reading of the cabinet is that
Yes, go on.
Sorry about that.
Go on.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting because the whole country has been waiting, especially after a number of ministers stepped aside and some, so everybody was waiting for this reshuffle. Well, the timing on how and when it came, I think it shouldn't be a matter for us to debate because it's a constitutional deliberate.
Well, but there must be some mandates. You can't just look at it and say, oh, whatever.
I mean, it's a president who has this constitutional mandate, and when he wants to appoint new ministers, fair of him, he does so. But I think the key issue for Uganda, and especially even linked to these by-elections, has been the question of service delivery. And everybody has been complaining, losing by-elections, because it is hinged to, lack of, effective service delivery. So I think the president is trying to energize his team. And I can tell you by bringing on the likes of Honorable Frank Tumwebaze and Richard Todronk, I think it's quite interesting. They are kind of paragons of hope for to infuse energy within this new cabinet. The way I know them, the way they can articulate issues, the way they can energize. So I think that's very interesting. Then there has been this other question of age, these sleeping ministers, most of them are very old. Yes, Fungaroho says now a new blood is coming on board. So it is our hope, and we hope they will not disappoint our hope, and we think that they will infuse energy in all of this. Yes, there are still a number of ministers have been discussing this on Twitter and Facebook, people saying, you see, most of these guys are old. But look, I don't think age should be an issue, because we know of some very old politicians, very old CEOs. Look at America, people like Warren Buffett, very, very old, but they are presiding over a multi-billion empire and making
that's personal empire.
It's a personal empire, but you see, this is management. This is business, politics, and managing a country.
Individualism and greed.
Yes, but I'm saying being strategic, working hard has nothing to do with age. But you see the debate in Uganda when people are talking about aging cabinet and sleeping, they seem to say that age, has got a link to non-performance. But I think the president renewed some of their mandate to say, look, service delivery is very important.
Well, but you're sounding very much like an NRM person. In the past, you used to be very objectively. There are people like Sam Kutesa who have been accused of being of impropriety, and you have something wrong with that.
No. You see, Edmond, it's not about sounding like NRM or anything else. But you see, the way people talk about corruption also, you can look at it much more closely. Is Kutesa guilty, or is he a suspect? So,
all right.
Yeah.
Dr. Apabari, let's hear.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Of course, with all due respect to my brother, I think our job as a...
Shake his hand, he's happy with you.
Yes,
The man from State House.
I think we need to be honest to ourselves and honest to this country, and also help government and help the government of President Museveni deliver. And therefore, really, my analysis is one who would want to look at a bigger picture. Honestly, Morris Rwakakamba, a young cabinet is itself an indicator of a team ready to score. An aging cabinet is an indicator, of course, of tiredness and fatigue. And of course, for people who have actually been powerful all this time, infusing serious blood in his cabinet would actually been very useful and giving us hope. Because look, some of these people are too tired. They cannot actually make a trip to the north and come back. Let alone, most of them. You remember the other time in Parliament when almost all the people were sleeping. So let us not beat about the bush. I'm very happy about my colleagues, my friends, and I want to congratulate them here now. TWAWEZA and Tadong. That's our generation. And increasingly, I would want to see the president actually showing us the future, bringing in more people, ceding more responsibilities to the young people, because we are talking about the past, the present, and the future. And the future is for the young people to go on. So I think that's one. But the other thing, of course, is the appointment of these guys who had been
the three men
censured. I think it is too early. While I do respect the right to natural justice, that they should do. I mean, they are not guilty until proved so, according to our law. But the point is that the probe has not been conclusively put off. I think bringing them in actually.
What probe?
I mean, I know the court has. I think the court has said that they still have some cases to answer. No, wait. We want to read. I'm looking at the country that actually we want a clean kind of team that can give people hope. Because you see, the corruption in this country, my brother, and no one can deny it. The president can't deny it. He knows. He said. He's pronounced himself on it. We want to see seriousness on that. Let the guys be completely exonerated, and then you bring them back when they are clean. So I think they could wait, but when you bring them back before you conclude anything, then it sends serious signals. And I don't want to say that the president condones corruption, but what I'm saying is, what does the reappointment mean to the rest of the country? Because public service or service delivery is largely being constrained because of so much money that has been. Look at the OPM. so 16.5 billion shillings in the hands of these young men. So I think we need a serious crackdown on that. So my brother, I think I didn't get hope. I'm not satisfied, because even these two young men will be swamped by the older generation, and their voice can only disappear. It's actually their own rangers, their own voices in that forest.
Well, let's hear from Mr. Chin. Incidentally, the reshuffle went beyond the cabinet, and my friend here survived. Congratulations. Please go on.
To start with, yes, good evening, listeners and viewers of Spectrum. To start with Uganda's governance political systems of some of the youngest people, by comparison to many other countries. Our parliament is on record to be the youngest in the world. So our parliament, National Assembly, is on record to have the youngest people, like Mr. Fungaroho and others.
But is that the appointment? That is not the appointment.
Let me talk.
Yes, that's a fact. Point of information.
No, I understand. But
okay, proceed.
Have some of the youngest people in the world. Talking about energy and influence. Yeah. So Parliament is one, for example. Even our local governments. Now, that said, even our cabinet is fairly young. Most people there are in their 40s. 40s can't be that old.
In terms of
look, cabinet average age is around 60.
I don't think so.
Let's stick to the facts.
No. It's not so. How many people are in their 60s in that cabinet? Look, and by the way, many of the people who are appointed, you just mentioned two. But people like Nantaba, people like Rosemary,
we've read out the names.
Those are very young people. And all those
about 6 or 7 very young ones.
People, very young people. So, and then there are many others who are young who are found there, and many others. I mean, I'm not here to list them out. But the point is, it's not a cabinet of people who are in their 70s or 80s or whatever. And then secondly, in politics...
It's not a sleeping cabinet.
It's not at all. And then in politics, there is nothing that proves that being, say, 60 doesn't make you effective. A man like Moses Hali is always in Ajumani. So you are saying that people can't go back to the north. He's always in Ajumani, and I'm aware that Kajura always goes to this constituency over the weekend.
But what is the impact? What is the impact on the ground?
Well, he has been re-elected by the electorate, and that's the measure we use.
In a fair election,
sure, many older people stood against Fungaroho and defeated them. And so should we choose Fungaroho's constituents for being biased against old people, whatever? So it depends. That's democracy. If you appoint young people to parliament and appoint young people to whatever. But I mean, we're not an appointive governance system, we're an elective governance system. And that's how it is. Now, you find that look, being objective does not mean to be anti-government. Because some people actually seem to confuse being criticizing government, being opposing government to objectivity.
Yeah, because
so when this gentleman brought out the issues as they were,
he sounded psycho.
And remember that doesn't happen because I engage him.
I want the man, he was being objective. And if his objectivity,
I know my brother, we've been together in this struggle. So what does that mean?
Now, regarding some of these ministers you have questions about, look, this is not a kangaroo court kind of system, jungle law. The courts of law, I think, acquitted these ministers. And I'm sure there are people who have questions, but questions are always there. And because you believe in due process, as you have mentioned, and the courts of law have said that Mr. TWAWEZA has no case to answer, I mean, those are the judges we have. And I would imagine they are regarded very highly in the Commonwealth.
But hey, if everybody accused of corruption, the big person has no case to answer. Who has the case to answer?
That's not I'm not going to answer that. But the point I'm trying to make, our judiciary is viewed very highly in the Commonwealth. In the Commonwealth. Justice Olochi and his team, people like Ogola, they are viewed extremely highly.
Just answer the question. Because we have looked for someone who is corrupt.
Now,
we are looking for someone
regarding the corruption of, say, in the OPM.
Yes.
It is this very same government and very same systems that have exposed these people. These people are not exposed by, say, some civil society organization. It is the Prime Minister who blew the whistle. And it's the police. The police of it is not some NGO or some whistleblower somewhere at the taxi park. It is.
But does it? Do you know how the Prime Minister was moved to that? Remember in Parliament recently, one of us, Honorable To, actually to be exact, raised some questions on the misuse of monies meant for the rehabilitation of the North in the office of the Prime Minister. Even some monies which are meant for the suffering people used for luxuries for the Prime Minister's office, let alone this one which is stolen. And when questions were put to the Prime Minister was aware that we, under the Greater North Parliamentary Forum, had our eyes there, and he knew as the day follows night that we were going to discover those things, and he decided to preempt. But this has not set anybody free. We have just let you see the tip of the iceberg. This man is Northern Uganda Reconstruction Program, NAPU 1, NAPU 2, PRDP. This money goes to the north and comes back. Oh, it goes around like this. Actually, poverty and suffering of poor people is the source of income for people in good positions like this. It attracts money, and they eat and they use the money. The better off use the money derived from the suffering of the
contribution on this, whatever. But that again further vindicates what I've been saying, that the system works, whereby Parliament comes out and checks the executive, and the executive, because of that information, acts. So the system is working. That's my point.
No, but I think
the system is not working then. You see, there are many guilty people in
the system is not working. Watch this space.
Yes.
What we are going to see next is people are going to stop talking.
What do you mean?
And yes, you will be elected.
Yes, and you must get worried if I'm not elected, because once people lose hope in the elective system, they will not go to vote. No. They will not go to be voted, and that will set a bad precedence for this country. You see this? Now, what is the use of pointing out that there is safety here? Yes. And when it comes to the investigation, no action is taken. How many investigations? How many probes? How many sightings of cases of corruption have been made here? Once it is the big people in the regime, they are set free. The president does not have the will to fight against corruption.
Let's hear from you. The regime
survives on corruption.
I think Mr. Nyago, with all due respect, of course, of the job you do, I think the best defense for government is first of all to appreciate that there is a problem, and also to appreciate that actually that too much corruption, because corruption like poverty cannot be eradicated completely, but it can be reduced to a level that allows development. But I tell you, excessive corruption is a threat to national security and national survival. So the kind of corruption now that we see is a threat to our national security, because it causes people to lose interest in electoral politics, as he's saying, and I think that's why government perhaps has been losing by elections. That's something you need to think about. Let's hear from Mr.
Nyago before we go for the break. Very briefly, don't confuse the NRM's losing at the primaries with people's lack of
primaries
in by-elections, with people's lack of trust in the system. In fact, people have been voting overwhelmingly. For example, in Kasese, those who voted for Winnie are 90,000, and those who voted for the Aisha are 50,000. That's not a minute, whatever. People are not. And by the way, those people in this very vibrant democracy who have opted to what do they call it? To boycott elections, have ended up being swept aside and thrown into the dustbin of history.
All right, this is Spectrum. I'll go for a break.
Boycott in 1996, and Mr. Damien Ken Chamsi came when others, whatever. So nobody would just, Parliament would not be remain a vacuum. There were people who would come there of ability, like and others. So if you keep quiet, others will come.
But this is Spectrum. We'll be back after this break.
You can pay, you can buy, pay your bills, pay school fees, send cash overseas, pay taxi fees, and salaries, anything you need.
You can do anything with Mp MTN mobile money. And now, for the first time in Uganda, you can even pay your electricity bills. Go to your MTN mobile money menu, select Pay Bills, select Umeme Touch Pay, and follow the prompts.
MTN. Everywhere you go.
John, Mike, and I, we go back a bit. We knew John at the beginning, working for someone else. But he was different. He had vision, saw opportunities. He started working towards his goal, opened his own garage, and worked, learning the hard way. His reputation spread. Trust, consistency, quality. Soon people were coming to him from all parts. He made himself and his whole street prosper, and also helped friends, seeing potential in people and helping them on. But John never shouts about all his success. He's just who he is. Special.
So here's to men like John, who make a difference, who enjoy Nile Special, the rich, satisfying taste from the source. Nile Special. You've earned it.
Not for sale to persons under 18.
Spectrum on Radio 1 FM 90.
Welcome back on Spectrum. Tonight we are reviewing the week. We've just been talking about the cabinet reshuffle. One of our colleagues tonight survived it in State House. We're glad he did. We're also talking about the UPDF air disaster. We talk about the Pharaoh sports in Uganda. Stephen Kiprotich brought us gold after 40 years of waiting. Some people have begun to call him Kipto Rich. Our guest tonight, Mr. Nyago, Deputy Principal Private Secretary to the President, Honorable Hassan Kaps Fungaroho, Shadow Minister for Defense, also Mp Obongi County, Dr. Bainomugisha, Head of the Peace and Conflict Program at ACODE, and a lecturer at Makerere University on Peace and Conflict Management, Mr. Morrison Rwakakamba, Program Manager, TWAWEZA, East Africa, with very sympathetic views to, the establishment. Tonight, let's talk about the UPDF air disaster. Morrison Rwakakamba.
With objective views.
UPDF air disaster. Ugandans, we had the news.
I am still fiercely independent. So.
All right. Independent but leaning somewhere maybe. Let's talk about these helicopters. 7 people dead. 10 survivors were returned home today. General Saleh is head of this probe. Parliament says he's not fit to head that probe. What do you think? Well, first of all, what do you think went wrong? Did you have all choppers there? Was it the bad weather? What's your reading? And should Saleh head that probe?
No, my reading is that it's really an accident that happened, which is very unfortunate. And I stand with everybody, especially the country and the families that lost people. And as a country, I mean, if you looked at those people who were flying those planes, a lot of investment went into that. So it's really sad, and I really also think that it shouldn't be politicized, because I've been hearing a lot of speculation about what was going on. But I also want to heap praise on this gentleman Ben Simpson, this guy who was running this small chopper and running up and down to rescue the lost officers and those who got injured. So kudos to that gentleman, Ben Simpson. Then on the issue of who heads the probe, it is very important that we should have a probe, first of all, and that the truth about what happened should be established, and that once the report is out, then it should be open to the public, such that people can know what really happened. On who heads it, I won't say I'm definitely very competent to say this one should head it. You certainly need experts, you certainly need people with experience, you certainly need people who have got a pedigree in looking at things of that nature.
Does Saleh have that kind of?
Sorry, what I know is that he headed a certain probe committee related to energy and electricity, and I think it's one of the few reports.
Give a good report.
It's one of the few reports that were delivered and made public. So I think from that ground, I think, and he's long so many years of handling military issues, I think he should be one of the best people we have as a country. You can talk about getting experts from Bulgaria, Russia, and United States, but as a country, he's one of the citizens I think we have who can deliver or help deliver a competent report and put it in context of the defense and security.
The other man is agreeing with you all the time.
Honorable, that is where we go wrong. First and foremost, I would like to really say that
Honorable Hassan,
may the souls of the deceased rest in eternal peace. I stand with the families of the bereaved and the Ugandan community at large. This issue of the probe is like carrying out a post-mortem on the body of a dead person. A postmortem does not really help the dead, it helps the living, in the sense of discovering the cause of the disease, and therefore the knowledge so obtained will be used to prevent the recurrence of the same disease and preventing people from dying using this from the same illness. Here the probe is very important because our security is still very important. The Somali mission is still here. There is still need for people to use similar or the same type of transport. But now if we don't get the right people to do the probe, you get the wrong information, you make wrong conclusions, and at the end you suffer from the same disease. Where are we going wrong this time? The first wrong step is the appointment of General Salim Saleh to head the probe.
You think it's a mistake?
That is a very big mistake.
Because of the helicopters?
Because of the helicopters. These helicopters were bought by some people. In the probe, you are going to investigate the source of these helicopters, the manufacturer, the age of the helicopters, the suppliers, and the people involved in their procurement. General Salim Saleh does not have a clean record here. All the people in the army need to be investigated. Those who are in the active command and control positions, including those who are in Air Force, those who deployed, who made the chart, the route chart that passed through here and there, including now those like General Salim Saleh. Though he is outside the main force, he has a lot of influence in what happens in the army. General Salim Saleh is not fit to be the person investigating, let alone heading. He is actually fit to be investigated. So you put him there to be investigated, not investigate. Because there are a lot of questions about him. Now, why do you allow such a thing to happen? His Excellency, with due respect, His Excellency General U.R. Kaguta Museveni also is questionable here. Why does he rush very fast to appoint his brother, to appoint Salim Saleh to be...
but the man has a credible record as a soldier.
Never. This credible record is borrowed from where? We know him, he has been here with us. He doesn't have a credible record.
He's a general 26 years old, one of the major generals.
One big error we make here is we want to recycle heroes of the past. Those heroes were made, their heroism was seen during guerrilla warfare. This is no guerrilla warfare here now. Why don't you look for new heroes for new issues? So they
won't have fought a war.
You see, there are new things where you can measure performance of people. Why do you want to stick to the old performance?
They fought a bush and won the war.
Now, why don't you talk about new heroes, like people who have manufactured a car in Makerere here? Why don't you talk about people teach? These are people who are new. We need new heroes to take us forward, not the old heroes to keep us stagnant. There was an issue about training, let alone the worthiness of the aircraft. This type of aircraft was started, the manufacturing of this aircraft started in 1969. They were produced in 1972 to the market. We don't know the age of this aircraft which was supplied here. Were they airworthy? Were they fit to fly? How many of them were bought? How many are still remaining in our anchors, in our stores? Do we need to continue using them, or we should discard all of them? Now, also the command and the strategy of the army, really, for me as a Shadow Minister of Defense and Security, I question these people's motives of saying we are sending people for war, and then you bring a display that you are going here. Suppose the enemy waited for you on the run and saw down the plane. This is also a possibility. These things of cosmetic talk saying it is bad weather, it is this and that, it is accident. Possibly it could have been an enemy plan. If you don't want to acknowledge the truth, suppose the enemy now advances and then shoots down some of the remaining helicopters, including the civilian helicopter which I see some people use here, the one of the police and so on. So all possibilities must be left open for investigation, and you rule them out one by one so that you remain with no doubt. In the military, there is a slogan that neglect nothing, mind the minutest. So you can be swayed by people like the army spokesperson, my brother Kulaije here, who always want to sound good. You cannot be good all the time. You cannot sound good all the time. Sometimes, if the truth deserves that you should not sound good, you should not sound good.
Right.
For me as a member of parliament, I don't
Shadow Minister for Defense.
And Shadow Minister for Defense and Security, I say that this army has tried this level best, but it is being mismanaged, misdirected, mishandled by a wrong regime, where some of the military elites are now aligned to the political elites, and the ordinary soldiers are suffering. Even in this Somali mission,
I think we need to
there are many things. That's why Parliament is even saying
we need to be careful.
We need to review.
We'll get back to you more.
We need to revisit the whole mission of the Somali deployment there. We have even police force deployed to Somalia without parliamentary approval.
We shouldn't dance on the graves of the dead.
Parliament, we have in the Constitution of the Republic of Uganda a provision for the deployment of the UPDF outside this country with the approval of Parliament. We have other armed forces like the police, the prisons. These days, because of the chasing of monies and even commissions, it has become fashionable to deploy any armed force outside Uganda without the notice of the public, without the notice of the Parliament. We have a contingent of police in Somalia. And even AU is saying Uganda is over-deployed. What is making Uganda over-deployed? This is the hunger and the chasing for money, not principles this time.
This is Spectrum on Radio 1. You can contribute by sending a text message. You might not be able to call in tonight. Send it to 7197. That is Spectrum. Message, question or comment. Send it to 7197. I repeat, that's Spectrum. Message, question or comment. Send it to 7197 to be read on air and responded to. Dr. Arthur.
Yeah, thank you very much, moderator. I just want to add my voice to send condolences to the bereaved families. It was a tragedy. But secondly, of course, to salute the gallant men and women in uniform, the UPDF, especially because of the work, the successes in Somalia, where most forces have feared to go and they have ventured and are causing stability in Somalia. Internet cafes are opening, the hotels are opening, a lot of businesses are coming. I think that is a credit to the UPDF. So when such an incident happens, of course, it should not take away the achievements and the successes in that field, and that's why I wouldn't want to. And in any case, of course, in terms of military, the loss, 5 losses is not a big thing. They could even have died. Actually, they died on a mission. They died on a mission that could have happened inside Somalia, but they didn't reach there. So, on that note, I wouldn't be critical. But of course, any loss of any soldier, of any person, of any citizen is a very big loss to the country. And you know, I like the Israel policy. The person is the most important, and they do everything to protect their soldiers, but they die. So, to that extent, I wouldn't want to politicize it, and I want to support Morris that we don't need to politicize this one. And I would also appeal to my brother here
not to dance on the grave of the dead.
Because I think it makes defense and security. That's correct. To guide the nation. That's correct. On issues of defense like this one. I think that all issues you are raising, and I thought we would now first get one issue correct, and then because you are talking about deployment, and then you are talking about the death. So I think for me, to that extent, we need to be careful and less politics in this and concentrate. And actually, you see, as a Minister of Defense, a Shadow Minister of Defense, you know the UPDF, you represent the UPDF, and they look up to you. So at this time of mourning and grief, you need just give me a chance, because you know you spoke. You need to join them and mourn the dead, and then. But it's also good that a commission has been set up.
Yes. Do you agree with Salim Saleh at the helm?
Yeah, I mean, considering Salim Saleh's record, it looks like it's impeccable. You know, he has also been a person of surprise. The Commission of Inquiry into the electricity has produced, it has delivered solid report. So I think he could, but of course, in the case of the president, you see, it raises a lot of political questions. So if I was the one appointing, and I'm not the commander-in-chief, perhaps, but of course I would follow the competence,
track record.
I would follow the track record, and perhaps the politics, the political consideration that you are my brother, and that would actually come last. But of course, it's a
But he's probably risen above that level of being brother. He fought in the army, he's got scars all over his body.
Yes, and then that's why I'm saying I think that he's qualified to lead, and I think but what we have to emphasize is that actually, as citizens, we demand that the report of the commission should be published and made public, so that we can also have oversight
when it comes
over
Mr. Kintu.
soldiers in the field.
No, I think I do agree with
Rwakakamba.
And also Dr. Bainomugisha in what they have said, and some of the issues are raised by the Shadow Minister of Defense. Yes, I also would like to add my condolence to the family and the country for having lost those gallant officers and men. Regarding the issue of the commission, I think General Saleh clearly has a good track record, as Mr. Dr. Bainomugisha and Dr. Rwakakamba mentioned. The question of what I would like to bring to the forefront is those who are asking regarding Saleh's family background. Why was it not asked when he was chosen to lead, say, the household in Kampala, to take over Kampala? Why did they not say, but Saleh is Museveni's brother? Or when he successfully took arms of the UNLA from Masindi,
yes,
Saleh is Museveni's brother. Or when he defeated the Ogole in the Ruwero trial,
right? Okay.
Really, Saleh is Museveni's brother. So Saleh, I think, has really proved that he's a man of ability, and that helps. Had he been a pilot, could have been better. But I think the
okay. Let's move forward.
Now, but did you read the 17-day report? No. There was a 17-day led probe.
I could have read everything, but just on the airworthiness.
So why do you continue praising Saleh like this?
On the airworthiness. These planes, we are told, this honorable Shadow Minister, that they were certified. Their airworthiness was certified by the UN and also AU team plus the UPD.
So it was simply a bad accident.
Pardon?
It was simply a bad accident. Could have happened.
I think it was. Remember, a vice president of Kenya died in the same area.
Yes.
So was it because of you think uncertainty?
Well, there's a probe. There's a probe there as well.
Been that
there is a probe as well down that side.
The Kenyans are not up to it. Which I thought he was Minister of Security.
All right, let's.
Very senior man in Kenya. So I mean, accidents happen. By the way, yesterday the Americans lost a plane worth billions. They're trying to research, which just fell into the ocean.
Right.
What about that?
Okay, let's move forward now. Let's talk about Kiprotich. Some people began to call him Kiprotich. He won gold 40 years after Akibwa won gold in Munich, Germany, the 1972 Olympics. Mr. Nyago, some people have been saying the government should have done better. We can get more gold. Uganda's performance was good. One of the only 8 countries in Africa that got medals after all. Look, is government paying lip service? We still clap our hands when they come home. We give them nothing when they're going.
I'm sure the Americans who won the Olympics and they got 50 medals.
They got about 100 medals, more than 90 medals. Gold was, yeah.
Gold. One could argue that they could have done better. Look, Uganda was 4th in Africa. True, we could have done better, but I mean, let us congratulate ourselves that we got a gold. And moreover, nobody.
Did government give enough support?
It gave enough support to ensure that a poor country like Uganda is the 4th in Africa.
Get another gold after 40 years.
This gold medal has come to Uganda as a result of
someone go to Kenya.
The efforts of an individual person and assistance given to that individual person by another country. Actually, Uganda should go and congratulate Kenya instead of thumping your chest here. You see? Now, promises were made. This is not the first time we have had people excelling. Remember the time of Nzikuru? Docas Nzikuru. I remember the time when President Museveni promised to build a high-altitude training ground in Kapchora. Has it been built?
Well, it's going to be built now.
It is going to be built, but this is not what made the medal to come. You see, this is the point. So the medal has come not because you built the training ground.
Come in spite of not building it.
So for me, what I know is that the current government is quick at taking opportunities and praising itself for doing nothing. And this
government is quick at doing what?
Doing nothing, just hijacking good performances of people, individual persons, and say, yes, this is Uganda. The problem, even people, even RDCs, their Muslims, we were recently invited to. Eating at State House is not an issue, my brother.
Today has been a bit.
You should watch.
Yes.
This excitement is going to disappear. Gradually, people will not remember about Kiprotich. People will not even remember the promises made that we are going to pay your taxes, we are going to give you this amount of money per month. If people who are entitled to their own, we'll call them pensions, call them
We have been rolled at this today. I think Edmond, you have to follow the whip. No, but as Morrison, yeah, I really also want to definitely congratulate Kiprotich and congratulate Uganda for the gold. But I also want to say the way people have been pushing this to government, actually, even including Fungaroho, because he's a member of parliament, so he's in government. He's representing that very strategic arm of government, and they have got power over the national budget architecture in terms of allocative capabilities. So I think as the whole government definitely should have put deliberate efforts in raising the budgetary allocations, in creating an environment that would allow our sports people from a young age to be able to excel.
All right.
But the other aspect, for me, government should just create an environment. You see, getting a medal is very profitable. You can see the signings and that are going to keep teach. So for me, the private sector, once the environment is there, should actually be the one to invest in all these sports.
But this is it.
The government has a responsibility there?
It has a responsibility in terms of environment and allocative efficiency, creating that environment.
Training facilities?
Absolutely. But then the private sector can also pitch in.
But the private sector can build the Nelson Mandela National Stadium at $40 million.
You see, Nelson Mandela, talking about Nelson Mandela, his ticket was actually paid by the private sector to go and win the rights to host the World Cup. The private sector, because they knew South Africa would make money, and it is the private sector that invested the resources in South Africa.
Let me say this. Uganda actually is not known for many good things. So when I'm telling you, I've been abroad, I've world traveled. Sometimes you find something that you could identify with this country and you don't see. So keep it actually raised the name and the flag of this country, and we are all very good. So, and again, let me say this, that sports could be a serious investment for a country like Uganda, but at the same time, it's actually a conflict management mechanism to divert our people away from politicking and producing nothing. So if we invested in the sports industry, we could actually we could raise a lot of our potential, but also create an environment of peace in this country. Right. The final thing I want to talk is Honorable Fungaroho. As Parliament, they have that responsibility because they discuss and pass the budget. I think if the executive arm of the government has failed to invest in the sports, you refuse to actually approve this budget and direct the government to invest in the sports, and it will be done.
Let's move forward. South African police shot dead 34 striking platinum mine workers. It's a big massacre. Some people are drawing lines between it and the Sharpeville massacre during the apartheid regime. As South Africans, we are way better off under the white rule. Mr. Chirinyang, you've lived in South Africa yourself.
Yeah, but comparing South Africa of today with that of the apartheid, I mean, it's like comparing heaven and hell. There is no comparison whatsoever. The black man is, or the people of South Africa are much more dignified, and they're enjoying better.
Poverty still bites them.
Poverty is everywhere. It was created by the whites. And what the blacks have done to remove that poverty within this short time is the whites have never even phantomed ever doing it. But that's it. You can't compare Sharpeville massacre with this. What happened? There were some lawless people, some lawless miners who I think were trying to create anarchy. And unfortunately, I think they were attacking the police, and the police were trigger happy. But fortunately, I think what the South African government has done is to put up a probe team, a probe committee to investigate, and then we should wait for the results of that. But I mean, this is not a Sharpeville.
Yeah, I think for us, what we should be doing now is to get the lessons. It's not so much about what the police did, but there are lessons for Uganda. So first, wait. First, of course, it's a shame. It's a shame that a liberational government of ANC can have its police massacre 34 people, minors, innocent, who are actually crying out for school fees and for food. They should have actually invested in that. But the second point, of course, of course they are armed, but that's expected. But the second point for us to learn is that actually poverty and desperation and helplessness can drive the people even to fight their own government that they love.
Morrison.
Yeah, it's really pity to see this. I mean, looking at those scenes at Al Jazeera, you'd think South Africa is back to apartheid, you know.
And you would think that the police of South Africa, should have acted much more professionally, especially with rubber bullets and all that. Yes, it is true.
They should pick lessons from
it is true that, of course, those miners were rowdy. They had killed some 2 policemen, but I think they could have acted more professionally, because 34 is a big number. It almost compared
injured.
Yeah, compared to Sharpeville, which was 69 in 1960. So what I want to mention today is that I think it's also not true that we should expect a South Africa that just got independence, not so many years ago, to challenge a system of apartheid which had lasted for hundreds of years. So I think it will still take more time, and I think our expectation of South Africa is still a bit too high.
But my brothers, really, do you think those killings?
No, not really. Yeah, it's just that elements of racism and all that are still there.
What is the final bad thing that can be done by any system? You think the bad things have already gone with the
loss of life,
with the apartheid government, and in black-led countries, black people's government govern the countries. There are no such things.
They are much better.
My brother, bad is bad. Good governance is good governance. Bad governance is bad governance. The problem we should look at now is capitalism. Capitalism is the same whether it is in the hands of black people or white people. The workers have been exploited. The workers have cried left, right, and center. So this is the situation where the people are fighting against exploitation, and the regime in power supported the exploiters. So it is the principle of capitalism which our forefathers, the likes of Julius Nyerere, Kwame Nkrumah, advised us against. You cannot liberate Africa and improve the lives of the ordinary citizens without tackling the question of capitalism. So
Nyerere tried African socialism. He said it had failed.
He was made to fail because the enemies of the principles Nyerere was bringing forward fought him left, right, and
just like they fought us over butter trade. So we are touching with Tanzania. We give them free maize from the US.
This is a question for the people who believe in the spirit of Pan-Africanism, socialism, to go and
go. Jacob Zuma wanted to buy himself. Well, the government wanted to buy him a jet for $300 million. That's the amount of aid we get
from
the US.
Uganda should also want this, but Uganda cannot use this as an example that the police can shoot and kill.
Maybe they used tear gas, lives would have been saved. We have to go. Thank you very much, dear guest. Honorable Hassan Kaps Fungaroho, Shadow Minister for Defense and Security, also MP for Obongi County. Mr. Kintu Nyago, Deputy Principal Private Secretary to the President. Thank you for coming. Spectrum. Dr. Bainomugisha, Head of the Peace and Conflict Program at ACODE, and so a lecturer at Makerere University on Peace and Conflict Management. Mr. Morrison, Rwakakamba, Program Manager to TWAWEZA East Africa, independent leading somewhere. Thank you for tuning in. I've been your host, Edmond.